Kapilji is one of the leaders and spokesmen of our community. I see him as a bit of a Hindu whistleblower. He's very good at calling our representatives to account and setting things straight. He's got a column which is followed by a lot of our community. So another interesting perspective and an important one in our community. I'd like to pass it on to Kapilji.
Thanks so much. Okay, things are going to be slightly different this time round. First and foremost, let's see if you're all alive. Namaste! 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 That is your identity. One word, just one word, and that actually exemplifies the complete heritage from whence I come from. But before we move forward, the reason I put my photograph on there is because people confuse me with Satishji. I do the good work, he gets the credit. He annoys people, I get the blame. There comes a time when these things actually have to stop. Okay, Satish? He's the one with more hair. Okay. Now, before we move forward, I want to take us through a journey of someone who came to the United Kingdom in the 60s. And how, as the decades go through, what actually happened to that particular individual? What was it that they actually faced in this country? Which brings us to present day, and therefore, what is our kartavya today? What is it that we must do now so that we might be able to protect the future? Because if you don't actually take action now, your children and theirs are going to have a very tough time. So let's look at this photograph. Kenyan Exodus, 1968. How many of you come from Kenya? How many of you remember the Kenyan Exodus? That's the first one from East Africa, right? Thousands were fleeing. Majority lost everything they had. It was a new country, new challenges. And you see that newspaper article on the left-hand side, the Sunday Nation. The Sunday Nation was the daily newspaper in Kenya. That's the front page, dated 26th of February, 2 days before the moratorium in Kenya was supposed to finish. That photograph was taken at Nairobi Airport. It shows us on the left-hand side a young child. In the middle, a few more children. On the right-hand side, a few more children. And it says, there is utter bewilderment. What will happen to these children? I saw that and I said to myself, there's a story there. One more. That young man is here today in this hall. I will introduce him to you later. Next one. What did this young man find in the UK? Let's start. In 68, Harrow was a prime minister, a Labour prime minister. There was also the time, if you remember, in April of that particular year, Enoch Powell, a conservative, actually gave the Rivers of Blood speech. How many of you remember that speech? You may not remember the full speech, but you'll know Enoch Powell, and you'll know the Rivers of Blood speech. And at that point, how many of you became Labour supporters? You're all shy, aren't you? You know what Dr. Swami was saying? Shyness must go. The lion that is within you needs to come out. If you're shy, even to acknowledge whence you come from and what it is you believe in, then what is it that you're going to do in the future? The truth is, the vast majority of the Indian population in this country, as well as the BME community, felt that the Tory party had let them down and they sided with the Labour Party. We know that. You know that. I know that. Let's face the truth. And that's what's been happening every single decade. Next one. You might not remember this, but during 1974, when the Ugandan Asians had to come here, how many are here from Uganda? 72 onwards. That was a nightmare of an exodus. Idi Amin was a dictator and a half. The sort of atrocities he committed, I can't even tell you. In fact, one of the girls who suffered it was actually in my class. I heard firsthand what happened to her mother. And you do not want me to tell you that. During that time, Leicester City Council put this advert on. How many of you remember this advert? Don't come to Leicester. A Labour City Council actually put an advert in the newspaper saying, don't come to Leicester. As if you and I would actually listen to them. They all went to Leicester. The rest is history. Let's carry on. I now want to dissect a few things immediately. Too many people are always on the fence. They like to be nice to everyone. I'm very sorry. I'll be nice to you, but I'll tell you on your face if I think you're wrong. And if you're wrong and you don't like it, the door is there. But I will not bow down to anything that is improper. That's the mindset that we got to have. The ability to speak the truth. Let's start with a few things. Within months of taking office, David Cameron got rid of the diplomatic ban that was placed on Narendra Modi, who, within months, who put the diplomatic ban on Narendra Modi? No, that gentleman has got insight, and I acknowledge that insight. And I'll be coming back to that. Labour and Congress. Remember that terminology, please. Do not confuse it. Labour equates to Congress. Okay? No, sorry. Go back. Yeah, okay. David Cameron's already made 3 trips. That means he's listening to someone. He's listening to someone from our community who is advising David Cameron correctly. Obviously, if Great Britain, remember, my children and their children will be living here. Their future is here. If Great Britain is not prosperous, if it is not thriving, then the generations to come will suffer. The future for Great Britain is a closer partnership with India. It needs India. India does not need Great Britain. That's the difference. Things have changed now. Because of that, David Cameron made 3 trips. He's also made Priti Patel a Guju. Now, isn't that unique? Actually got a Gujarati MP. After 5 decades, 6 decades of voting, actually got a Gujarati MP. The Indian diaspora champion. Since coming into power, more than 40 ministerial trips have actually taken place with India. What I'm trying to get to is that there seems to be a change that's actually happened in the last 5 years. Keep that change in mind, because obviously the sentiment within the present government and within the Conservative Party appears to be changing. If it is, let's be bright about this. If you consider the statute for Mahatma Gandhi, everyone has claimed it's their idea. Asian Voice, you pick it up. I write for Asian Voice, so I see everything, And I go through page after page after page. Oh, it was my idea. Lord so-and-so, it was his idea. It's everyone's idea. It's Parliament Square, my friends. Do you think any Tom, Dick and Harry can actually put a statue there? No. It needs the Prime Minister to say, I think it's a good idea. Can you imagine? In Parliament Square, you got Nelson Mandela. But Nelson Mandela's mentor is Mahatma Gandhi. And after all these years, his statue was not there. It was a wrong that has been righted. It now puts Great Britain on the right pedestal. It is good for our country. We're looking at the general elections right now. And on all the analysis that I've done, don't be too surprised if the Conservative Party actually end up with more MPs from the ethnic minorities than the Labour Party, especially from our community. Do not be surprised. That is the sea change that is just about to hit you and I. Next one. Now, let's actually look at the Labour Party. And I make no bones about this. If you're going to shoot, don't shoot from the hips. Aim and then let go. The diplomatic ban on our Narendra Bhai Modi was actually placed by the Labour Party. No evidence, no nothing whatsoever. They just thought it's a good idea. No, it was not a good idea. Our friend over there indicated how it happened. Someone in Congress made a phone call. Somebody from America jumped in as well. And before you knew, there was a diplomatic ban. After 5 decades of voting for the Labour Party, that's our community, the vast majority of the Indians over the last 5 years, over the past 5 decades, have actually been Gujaratis. From the Hindu community and the Indian community, they've actually been Gujaratis. You know that, don't you? The vast majority. If you think about it, if the vast majority of Gujaratis have actually been voting left, right, and center for the Labour Party, and they've not even got one Gujarati MP in 55 years, if you cannot ask that question and then answer that question and actually understand what the truth is, you've got no idea what's going on. We can go through quite a few of those things, but let me indicate, and Dr. Swami, I think you're going to get angry, but I'll get angry on your behalf. It's the least I can do. Ed Miliband has refused to denounce his MPs who took part in several events at the House of Commons. These were called anti-Modi events, which turned into anti-Hindu events. You can't do things like that, but it's happened. We've actually witnessed it. We also witnessed Anish Kapoor. Who knows Anish Kapoor? Knows of Anish Kapoor. Yeah, he's the guy who actually built the scaffolding at the Olympic Park. Yeah? It is a scaffolding, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah, that's right. Some people actually thought it was art. The poor chap didn't know it was the scaffolding. He actually came on television, Newsnight, and called Narendra Modi a mass murderer. He is one of the prime donors to the Labour Party. I asked Ed Miliband, denounce him. Still no answer. We must question people. Kashmir. We got Lakshmi Kaul with us. Lakshmi ji, thank you. She leads the Kashmiri Pandits Cultural Society. She's got first-hand knowledge and experience of exactly what actually happened to the 500,000 Kashmiris in that valley. Her husband, Vinod Bhai, can actually give you some harrowing stories. And you would not want to listen to them either. Trust me. On Kashmir, we then found out that the Labour Party is more pro-Pakistan than India, because they actually want to go for self-determination. That's not the Indian policy. So we can't just put that to one side. And on the caste issue, who was the party that actually went for the caste issue? Hook, line, and sinker. The Labour Party. Can I say I can see leaders here. We got Bhartiji Taylor, the first woman Secretary General of a national Hindu organization. We got Truptiben Patel, the first president of a national Hindu organization, sitting on the front row as well. And we got a number of other key people as well. Kishore Bhai from the VHP, thank you very much. Dhruv. All of these people told the Labour Party, what you're doing is stupid. Not silly, stupid. And you know what they did? They said, we don't care a damn. We'll still go ahead and do exactly what we're going to do. And they did. Next slide. I want to share some photographs with you. It's important. Top photograph, Bob Blackman. That's the actual image in Parliament of Bob making a speech. And you know what he said in his speech? Jammu and Kashmir is integral to India, and the British government has got nothing to do with it. It's integral to India. That's the first time a British MP actually had the guts to say the truth. We need champions like that. But it took time, but he's actually with us. On the left-hand side, you can see Alok Sharma. Actually, that's the British Board of Hindu Scholars, the launch of that, which is in fact Satish's pet project and of the NCHT. On the right-hand side, you got Priti Patel. Priti Patel, the person who wrote to the BBC and took them on because of Anish Kapoor and the mass murderer comment. She wrote. None of the other MPs did, but she championed the cause. Just in case you forget, that's Anish Kapoor. If you see him, ask him why. Okay? Name and shame people from now on. Next one, please. Shadow Minister. You know what Shadow Minister is? Shadow Minister means this is Shabana Mahmood from the Labour Party. She sits on the front bench, a junior minister. When a junior minister in this country makes a statement, it's meant to be party policy. Those are her statements on Kashmir. It's evident she is supporting the Kashmiri, Pakistani community from Mirpur that actually wants to actually have a separatist agenda. That is exactly what she wants. The self-determination movement is the one that she is supporting, which is completely anti-India. That's the Labour Party. I asked Eddie Miliband, denounce her. Nothing so far. Nothing. On the caste issue, somebody said, we've been told by a number of Labour MPs, oh, we didn't vote this way and that way. Look, let me tell you the truth. That's directly from the records. At the top, against the Hindus, 181, the vast majority Labour. On the bottom, for the Hindus, the vast majority Conservatives. Why? Because someone advised the Conservative Party correctly and said, don't be stupid. This is not, the caste issue is not one that you should be running with. It is wrong, and it will actually denigrate our own communities. Next one, please. This is an interesting one, and I want you to understand why this is an interesting one. On the left-hand side, we got Paul Uppal, Wolverhampton Southwest. On the right-hand side, Seema Malhotra. Somebody tell me what's unique about Wolverhampton. I know you know. Somebody just said that. Enoch Powell. Wolverhampton. Enoch Powell was the MP for Wolverhampton. Who's the MP now? Paul Uppal. In 5 decades, see the change in that one particular party. Enoch Powell, all those years ago in 68, was talking about the rivers of blood. Our own Paul Uppal has now gone there and become the MP. That's what you call a sea change. A sea change in the mentality of the people and a sea change in the mentality of the party. On the right-hand side, Seema Malhotra. Why did I actually point that out? Because when the caste debate was going through and it passed, Seema Malhotra came out shouting and screaming and shaking her, clapping her hands saying, we have won, we have won. And do you know what they had won? A vote against the Hindus. Seema Malhotra voted against us, and she came out and made a public statement against us. On the left-hand side, one Indian who knows what it is to be an Indian. On the other side, I hope she learns something from her mistakes. Who else? There are people here who know Lord Bhikkhu Parekh. There are many people here who are very good friends with Lord Bhikkhu Parekh, including myself. I have a huge amount of respect for Bhikkhu Bhai. In the House of Lords, he voted against the Hindus on the caste issue. Lord Bhikkhu Bhai Parekh voted against us. You know what? When Dr. Swami was actually saying that Hindus have actually forgotten where their first duty lies, you want an example? That's your example. Next one, please. Is the politics of 2015 the same as that of 70s? The short answer, no. The long answer, no, because life has changed. You have changed. I have changed. The Conservative Party has changed dramatically. The Labour Party has changed dramatically. I'm going to show you how it's changed. I did an article called Labour and Sharia. These are the top 20 seats where the Muslim population is high. 49 of those MPs are totally dependent on the Kashmiri Muslim community vote. Now you see why suddenly Labour actually has to be so nice to a particular group. If they are so nice to a particular group, you tell me, do you honestly think that the Pakistani Kashmiri community will ever support Indians? No. We have to be realistic. Say it as it is. Next one, please. I'm going to let go of this one because you can't see and I can't see. This was another study I'd done, which was to look at every single ward in the UK to find out the Hindu population. The highest percentage of Hindus in a ward was Latimer. Where is Latimer? Leicester. Who is the MP for Leicester? Keith was. 70% of that area, Hindus. Think about it. Who are you voting for? In Leicester, you got 3 MPs, not one Gujarati, but the vast majority of voters are Gujarati. In 50 years, you could not find one Gujarati? Not even one? I'm here. I've been here for 50 years. Come on, what's wrong with these people? Anyway, next slide. Can you make a difference? My friends, if you can't make a difference, go home, lie down, stay there, don't come out. Because if you come out of that front door, you better well make a difference. We cannot now be in the 21st century, the century in which we see a lion like Narendra Bhai Modi coming out, fighting all the forces in India and winning. With people like Dr. Swami, he loves getting into fights and because he already knows he's going to win. And the reason why he already knows he's going to win is because he's got Atma Vishwas in his argument. He knows where he's coming from. Once you know that you are from your Sanatan Dharmic values, you cannot lose. You can make a difference. I was going to go through elements of the British Manifesto, but that's already been done, so we'll go skip that. I promised you at the start that we'll talk about this young man and what actually happened to this young man. One more. That's the chap we were talking about. He grew up. He had a good childhood. He had a good education. He went all the way to the top that he needed to. And he became So I say to you, from that young man to that bold man, one more. Thank you.